Integration services include several different log providers that let a package track events in the package by writing to a variety of destinations. The first one is the Windows event log. This writes to the Windows application event log using the source name SQLIS package. This is probably the easiest way to store log entries since it requires no additional configuration. But the downside is that all of the package information events are stored along with everything else going on within Windows. So it can be a lot of noise, but you can filter things. Second option is a text file log. This writes to a comma-separated value, or CSV file. You have to specify the location of the file. Next is an XML log. Writes to an XML file in a location you specify using a file connection object. You can also write to the SQL Server log. And this is the SSIS DTS log 100 table in the MSDB database in a SQL Server instance, which is created automatically the first time that you use this log provider. And then finally, there's a SQL Server profiler trace. This writes to a native.trc or trace file readable by SQL Server profiler. This will let you view the step-by-step execution of the package or replay the steps of execution. With the exception of the Windows event log, each log provider must have a connection manager associated with it. And you need to be aware of the scope of the events that your package logs. If you enable logging at the bottommost level of a package, you'll only catch events at that level and not above it. The tree view allows you to configure at the level you want to show errors, and then which errors you will display at that level or the levels that you choose. So context matters for logging when you're configuring it. So let's talk about logging to a text file. Logging to a text file is one way to log integration services informational messages, warnings, and errors. Since you end up saving your warnings, errors, and informational messages to a standard ASCII formatted text file, you can use any text viewer to view the logging information. And one easy way to view the information is using Excel, which understands these file formats. In this demonstration, I'm going to continue to use this logging project that I used and configured in an earlier video for logging integration services packages. So I'm going to come up here with the package selected and select SSIS logging. And that opens up this Configure SSIS Logs Logging dialog box. Okay, I want to select the for each loop container. Okay, and when I do that, notice that I can't add any logs here. But if I go back and select the logging option here, then this add a new log, all of these controls appear. Okay, so the reason for that is that I can only add log providers at the package level, not at the task level. Okay, so if you're ever confused coming into this and this stuff doesn't appear, you just have to select the package instead of any tasks within it. So again, like that. Okay, and in fact, if I expand that and come down to your data flow task, it doesn't appear either. So to do what I'm about to do, I need to configure it at the package level. Okay, I'm going to disable logging at these two levels. And then I'll once again select logging, because again, this is the only place where I can add providers. So now I'm going to select the SSIS log provider for text files. And then I'll click the Add button. And that adds a row to this list here. Expand these a bit. Okay. And as you can see, it has the name and that it writes log entries for events to a CSV file. And notice this is a list, so I can, within a single package, I can have multiple providers to be writing different kinds of events out to different locations. Okay, with the data flow task selected here, I am going to select to log events to that provider. So that's going to enable logging to this provider. And now I need to change the configuration because I need to create a connection to a text file. So in this case, I don't have an existing file, so I'm going to create a file. And I'm going to use the Browse button, and I'm going to put it within this logging project directory. So I can put it anywhere I want, but this is the same location as this project, so it's going to make it easy to find this file. And then I'm going to enter the file name, and I'll just call it textlog.log. And click on Open, which configures that, so notice the location, and click on OK, and now it's configured to use that textlog.log file. Now, the .log extension is not necessary, but it's a recommended practice to use that extension to identify the use of the file. But you can make it .text, you can make it .don, you can make it .floyd, anything you want, any valid Windows file name. And now I need to come over to the Details tab because I want to configure which events that I select and not just use the default selections. So I want on error. I don't want on information. I want to include on pipeline rows sent. That's fine. On progress. Don't want these. Leave on progress. And I'll leave on warning and buffer size tuning. Okay, so that's all the events that I want to capture. And then I also want to save this configuration, so I'll click on the Save button there. It'll go into that same project directory, and I'm going to save this as log events config. And that'll save it as an XML file, so I can reuse that configuration file. And then I'll click on OK to close that dialog box. And now I've configured logging for this project. So I'll execute the package. And as you can see, it executes to completion. And then I can add an execution. And if I go over to the folder where I created that file, you can see the textlog.log exists. And I can open that up with Notepad. And you can see the information that was saved. So as you can see, there's a lot of on progress, on pipeline rows sent, all of the different items, and it's all in a common separated value file format that you can use to read into an application or Excel or whatever it is that you want to do with that information.